G'day Bomber fans, 2024 coming up, big year for, we're in 2024, the season's coming up though, big year for the club, big year for the players at the club. There are a handful, or almost two handfuls, that are yet to make their AFL debut, so today I'll go over those guys, talk a bit about them, and go over their chances of playing senior footy this year, so let's just get into it. I'll start with the second year players that we know more about. Jaiden Hunter, I was unsure about him getting game time heading into 2024 initially. We have a pretty deep forward line, a lot of would have had to go right for him. Unfortunately, the opposite happened though. He suffered yet another ACL tear, derailing his year and most likely his career with Essendon. It's been a roller coaster for Hunter since he joined, even before he joined really. He's had injury problems throughout his whole career. There have been some miraculous ACL recoveries. I remember Zlatan Ibrahimovic playing a few months after doing his knee for Man United, but that stuff ruins you for life a lot of the time, so that isn't really something you would see happen in the AFL. The usual time for an ACL injury return in footy is 10 to 12 months, give or take. So we won't be seeing Jaiden anytime soon. Even if he did manage to return earlier than expected, late in the season, for example, he wouldn't be playing. So Hunter will not be making his debut. He'll probably be delisted without having played a game, unfortunately for him. Speaking of ACL, Jayden Davey, he had his ACL injury late in 2022. He was out for the entire 2023 season, didn't train at all, really. He took a slow approach to recovery. You don't want to rush young players back. He only joined main training recently, to be honest. It could have even been this year, thinking back on it, or late last year. Don't really remember, if I'm being honest. But he's looked good. More of a natural small forward, unlike his brother who plays midfield primarily in his preferred role. Jaiden is a really crafty player. The issue for him at this stage is his size, I'd say. He's a bit lean, and the fact we have quite a few options that are better right now than him. Menzies, Guelphy, even Nick Hind has been training there recently. His brother Jayden Davey Jr. is still a forward technically, so he's pretty well down the pecking order, but you never know. Some good VFL form could shoot him up. Some injuries to other players. I'm not ruling him out for a debut this year. We saw his brother debut round one, but I doubt we see the same with Jaiden. I think if it happens, it's later in the year, but he won't be thinking about that right now. He'll just be thinking about getting onto the park in the resis and putting his long-term injury behind him. Now, Lewis Hayes, there are some whispers around the place that Hayes is closer to AFL minutes than us fans think. I don't personally know though. I think our key defensive stocks would need to take a proper hit in order for that to happen. I can't see a world where Hayes forces his way into the team based on form if Mackay and Ridley and Reed and Laverty and Baldwin are all fit, and Nick Cox, if they're all fit. He's still quite lean as well, which I think we'll see improved next year. I think if our defense is fully fit, he probably doesn't play. That's just my take. And hopefully it is fully fit. We don't want a backline relying on last available options because, well, right now, of players in his position, Hayes is at the bottom of the pecking order, which isn't a bad thing. He's the youngest of our key backs. He's still developing. I just think we see that development through the VFL this year. So I would say we probably don't see him in 2024, and if we do, it's not much at all, but I'd love to be proven wrong. Would be great for another player to contend for matchday spots, make it even harder for Scott and his crew to make decisions. On to the new boys, Nate Caddy. I think we all know we're going to see him play in 2024, bar a disaster. He's done so much this preseason already. He's genuinely a chance to play round one, and if not round one, then very early into the year. There is a battle for game day spots between him and Harry Jones right now. I love the look of him. I think he will improve our forward line setup when he plays. He's a mobile key forward, good contested mark, really good mover. Of all the players in this video, he is by far the most likely to debut in 2024, but that isn't exactly unexpected from a top 10 draft pick. I, like all of you guys, am really excited to see him play this year. I haven't felt this hyped about a draftee in a long time. I got more hyped with Caddy than I did with Andy McGrath. I think it's the fact he's a key forward, so yeah, Caddy will debut. It's well and truly on the cards. I expect it to happen soon into the year. Luamon Lual, it's really hard to say what will happen with these next couple of players, but Lual, I really like him. I think he's going to be a good player for us. If you know the channel, you know I've been talking about Lual a lot before we even drafted him. He's a really exciting player. I think we see him play a fair bit of VFL before AFL, though. He isn't exactly rounded, and that's coming from a big fan of his. I think we need to see him improve a few areas of his game first. His decision making, his ball use, it's probably not up to AFL standard in some areas. And unfortunately for Lual, we have plenty of options in his position. We got Heppel, Kelly, McGrath, Redman, Hind, back or forward. We don't know where he's playing this year. Nick Martin now makes it harder for Lual as well if he plays halfback. I think the one thing I'll say is that I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lual pushed up onto a wing at some stage. stage in the VFL this year just to test him out there. He has a great tank. He finished top 5 in the recent time trial. But yeah, as for AFL minutes, not 100% sure we see him much. I think we need to see him in the system before we judge. Maybe a practice match. If he plays much this year, it's only going to be a few games. Archie Roberts is in a similar spot to Luamon Lual. I think we really have to wait until we see him in action against another team before we think about his spot in ours. Match sim is all well and good, but it doesn't really tell the full story. If we see him feature in the practice matches coming up and see how he goes in our system against another full-strength team, then we can hope to see him feature in this season. But as it stands now, he is in the exact same position as Lual. It's a hard position to break into right now with the amount of depth, that halfback flank. I think it's going to be mostly VFL footy for Roberts. I do, however, think he has more to his game right now than Lual. That's just my opinion. I know he was drafted after him, but I have rated Roberts highly for a while. I think he's a wonderful ball user. But yeah, I doubt we see much of him at all in 2024. I reckon both Roberts and Lual will be playing mostly through the reserves. There is a chance of a debut, but it would probably come through injury. And finally, Vigo Visentini. We won't be seeing him in 2024. Fingers crossed, at least. Nothing against Vigo, but he is a development player. Young rucks shouldn't be playing this early into their careers. If he does play, it will be because our ruck stocks are completely destroyed through injury. There is no way he leapfrogs Brian this early into his career, and Brian isn't even in our starting team. He really is a project player. I don't think we will see him until his early 20s, if we do. So I would say no chance of a debut this year. A lot would have to go wrong with the first team in order for that to happen. Again, nothing against Visentini. It's just the type of player he is. He still has much to learn and so many areas of his game to improve. But that is that. Quick little video highlighting our possible debutants for season 2024. A few of them, not many I think that we will see this year though. Hope you enjoyed it. Like if you did, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and as always, go Bombers.